Hi, it is our fervent pleasure to know you tuned in once again to our weekly flashback and of course reflections on top stories in the news. Welcome to Roundup. Over the next 25 minutes we'll beam the floodlights on intensifying political effervescence across Cameroon in the build-up to the 9 October presidential election. A corruption scandal indicating that some leaders of some former French African colonies secretly scraped their national coffers to finance presidential elections in France. And lastly, a mission by U.S. military personnel from the U.S. Special Operations of Africa Commando AFRICOM based in Stuttgart, that's in Germany. Joining me in our Douala studio to shed more light on these and more issues in the news this week is an eminent and world-renowned Cameroonian Democrat. Dr. Christopher Fomunyoh is our guest in this edition. Of course, he is from the National Democratic Institute that is based in the United States. He is also founder of the Fomunyoh Foundation, and that's among others. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me.
Thanks once again for coming. I know that you were born in 1956. That's in Guzang, in Batibo. Do you say Batibo or Batibo?
Well, it depends. If you speak in the dialect, you have to say Batibo. But I was born in Guzang, Batibo, and we're noted for producing palm wine and cocoyams and coffee as well. So it's a real pleasure to be at home and to be with my own.
As the years crawled by, after your birth, you went to school, first of all, to CPC, Bali, and then to Cast Bambili. That's where I went to school too, Doctor. And after the University of Yaoundé, you spent some time working at the defunct SNEC and Canal, and then you hopped over to the United States of America, where you went firstly to Harvard Law School, to Boston University, that's among others. But today, you are Senior Associate and Africa Regional Director for the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs. How do you explain the sudden rise, Doctor, considering that your parents were coffee farmers?
Well, that's true. I feel very fortunate. I'm a very proud Boban. Those of us who went to Bali College, sometimes feel we're in competition with Sase and Sacred Heart and the younger schools that are coming up now. But I look back to my years in Bali College as the formative years. Those were the years that gave me, reinforced my core principles, core beliefs in fairness and equity. And, you go from secondary school to high school to the university. And at our time, in those days, as some of the older generation would say, things worked pretty well. And there was a sense that if you worked hard, you did your homework, you studied hard, that you would get rewarded. And so that's what got me through secondary school, high school, to the University of Yaoundé. And when I graduated from Yaoundé, I actually was fortunate to work in Douala. I worked down the street at the SNEC head office.
That's the defunct National Water Corporation.
That's the defunct National Water Corporation. In fact, I was one of the first senior Anglophone officials to work at SNEC in the administrative department.
Doctor, I'm going to cut you. When you look at these two structures, they were flag bearers of Cameroon's economy.
Yes.
When you look at them and you see they're not there anymore, do you think it's a reflection of the way we manage our country?
Yes, I do think so, and I feel very sad about it because when I worked at SNEC and then later on at Cameroon Airlines at the time was one of the best airliners on the African continent. Sure. It was really the pride of the continent, and I remember Ekambi Briand singing Cameroon Airlines as one of the songs that was admired by most Cameroonians. And then I look back today, about 30 years, 20 years, 25 years after that, and all of these corporations are gone. It's a very sad commentary on our country and the state of affairs.
Cameroon's Supreme Court, sitting in for the Constitutional Council, is expected to issue its verdicts anytime very soon, following the filing of petitions by 18 of the 30 disqualified candidates for the 9th October presidential election. The disqualifications by the Elections Management Body, ELECAM, has of course sparked diverse reactions from among some of the ill-fated presidential aspirants. Kejang Henry Atembe sets the roundup ball rolling with these couple of reports.
The United People for Social Renovation, PUS, has condemned the manipulation and muzzling of the youth in Cameroon. The Prime Secretary Serge Espoir Matumba made the declaration during a press conference in Douala on Wednesday, September 14. His indignation is based on the fact that the candidacy of their party's presidential hopeful was rejected by the board of the elections managing body, ELECAM. The candidacy of Pius was rejected on grounds that candidate Patrick Sapak did not present a tax assessment certificate, which is a proof that he exercises a lucrative business. Many of the candidates instead produce a non-assessment certificate, like in the case of the candidate of the Manidem, George Aniset Ekane, whose documents were never rejected in 2004. Patrick Sapak is the longest presidential hopeful for the 2011 poll. The Movement for Africa's New Independence and Democracy, Manidem, whose flag bearer's candidacy was rejected by ELECAM for the 9 October presidential poll, has faced the national and international media organ. Manidem's political bureau told the press on September 14 in Douala that George Anise Ekane's candidacy did not lack any document that caused its rejection by the electoral board.
If the Supreme Court says the law, we are not afraid that our candidate, Anise Ekane, will be rehabilitated. We have no problem. The dossier of our candidate was complete and full. It's the same dossier he presented at